Hi guys, I'm Sandra with SawdustGirl.com, and today I'm going to show you how to build a drawer. The first thing that we need to do is measure the cabinet opening.
Make sure you measure the width and the height.
The hardware that you choose to install your drawer will determine the amount of clearance that you need between the drawer and the opening. Today's tutorial we're using 1/2-inch plywood and Blum Tandem plus Blum Motion hardware.
When you order your drawer glides, they come in pairs. They look like this. But what does not come with that are the locking mechanisms. You have to order a left and a right. I don't know why they're not sold in pairs, but they're not. So these are the Tandem plus Blum Motion 563H. My cabinet is 17 inches deep, and the Blum hardware comes in 3-inch increments. I'm going to a 15-inch glide, and I'm building the drawer exactly 15.
Now that you've measured your cabinet opening, it's time to determine the size of your drawer and how to cut all of your pieces. The Blum instruction manual gives you a pretty in-depth chart of determining the size of your drawer based on the material thickness. To make it easy, this tutorial we're using 1/2-inch material for the drawer, so we're subtracting 5/8 inch from the cabinet opening to determine the exterior width of the drawer. Now using 1/2-inch material makes our math really easy. We know we need to subtract 5/8 inch from the cabinet opening to determine the outside width of our drawer. Subtract 1 inch from that, and then we know how wide to cut the front and back pieces, which will be installed inside the 2 drawer sides.
Now, to make drawers where you have no visible plywood bottom or fasteners,
you'll need a groove for the drawer bottom to slide into. Then we'll be using pocket screws to attach the front and back pieces to the drawer sides, and once the false front is put onto the drawer front, you won't see any fasteners. Now, if you don't have a table saw or a router table to cut your own groove,
you can purchase drawer material that is already pre-finished on all sides, and the groove is already routed out.
Now let's get building. Don't forget to wear the proper safety gear, ears and eyes always. And if you don't have a good dust collection system, protect those lungs with a mask or respirator. Now you're going to have to cut all of your drawer parts. It's important to make sure that all of the sides are exactly the same length and your fronts and backs are exactly the same length. You can use your miter saw or table saw or jigsaw or circular saw if you have to. Make sure you use a straight edge guide with those tools to make sure that your cuts are straight.
I'm building 2 drawers, so I have marked them so that I don't confuse the pieces. They're not exactly the same. I'm going to just do one at a time, so I'll move those over here. I'm going to go ahead and lay this out as the drawer will be set up.
All of the pre-assembly work is done on the front and back pieces, so the sides aren't touched until assembly. So set those aside so we don't accidentally do something to those. The first thing we're going to do is cut a notch and drill a hole to accommodate our Blum drawer slides. You need to drill a hole and cut a notch on both the right and left side of each drawer back. Make sure you do this all on the back side of the drawer back. The inside has the groove, the outside is where you're drilling your hole and cutting your notch. Check the video description for a link to my blog post where I've created some printable drawings to make the measurement and marking of these locations very easy. Then use a 1/4-inch drill bit to drill out your hole and a jigsaw to cut out your notch. Now it's time to drill your pocket holes. And remember, we're not drilling any holes in the sides. Set those aside so that we don't screw up. We're only drilling holes in the front and back. I find it's really helpful to give yourself lots of notes. I've put the blue painter's tape on the side of the wood that I am not drilling. And then on the side of the wood that I am drilling, I also draw some lines in pencil so that I know 3 pocket screws. And I put a big squiggly line over the groove area so that I remember not to drill any holes there. And you don't want to screw in your groove or your drawer bottom won't slide into place. Now use whatever pocket hole jig you have to drill your holes. Use an assembly square and some clamps to make sure that your drawer parts are square to each other while you drive in your pocket screws. You're going to attach 3 drawer parts to each other, making a U. And then this will leave an area for you to slide your drawer bottom in before you secure the last piece. Cut your drawer bottom to fit, slide it in place, and then attach your last piece. The entire drawer is made out of plywood, which is very stable, so I choose to add glue into the groove to glue the bottom panel into place. Since this is a pre-finished material and there's no glue in the joints, I feel like gluing the panel in just adds a little strength to the drawer. And once you secure that last piece, you want to take your tape measure and check the diagonals and make sure that your drawer is truly square. If it's not, knock it around a bit until you square it up. Now it's time to secure the locking mechanisms to the drawer. I use number 6 1/2-inch screws for this and pre-drill. Now there is a jig that you can purchase for $48 to help you drill the holes at the right angle, which I think is ridiculous. I just put the drill bit on the drill and drill into the holes with the locking mechanism in place, and that tells me where to drill and gives me an angle. So you can spend the $48 or just do it this way. Now these screws are really small and they're easy to overdrive and strip out the material, so make sure that you set your drill on the lowest speed and the lowest torque setting. All it takes is 2 screws per locking mechanism and you're done with the drawer part. Now it's time to install the drawer runner. If you have a face frame, you need to install a cleat or block out behind the face frame so that your drawer runner can be installed flush with the face frame. Now there are a lot of factors to determine how far back your setback is, how far you push the runner back into the cabinet. If you're doing inset drawers or overlay drawer fronts, and what thickness the drawer front material is in comparison to the drawer material. So you will have to refer to the Blum installation chart for that information. The installation instructions for your specific runner will tell you specifically where to drive in your screws, which holes to drive them into, and how many per glide. Technically, you need to follow that to accommodate the weight bearing for each glide. I personally just put the screws wherever I want, but that decision's up to you. I find it's really helpful to have a combination square set to the correct setback based on your information that we talked about before, and then drive a screw in the front slotted hole in the runner. Verify the setback with your combination square and then tighten that screw. Then you can drive the rest of them in, knowing that they're in the correct placement. And then that's it. Now all you have to do is set your drawer into place. Those back notches slide over the drawer runners, and then the front locking mechanism locks the drawer onto the runners. One great thing about these runners is that they allow for a little flexibility in your drawer sizing. So if you didn't get your drawer sized perfectly to the opening, they still glide really smoothly, which is awesome. So that's it for this drawer building tutorial. I will see you next time with something else.